Right. So as Omar said, in 2006, Palestinians had elections, and they voted Hamas into power of the Palestinian Authority. There was Palestinian Authority elections, and the Palestinian Authority is the governing body in the occupied territories. The Palestinian Authority is really not much of an authority at all because it effectively has the powers of a municipal government. The authorities have to call the Israeli occupation authorities if they want to move from one town to another. So nonetheless, limited though the authority is, Hamas was elected in 2006. And what that signified, I think, was the Palestinian population being very tired of the failures of the diplomatic efforts of the PLO or the PA under Yasser Arafat and then Mahmoud Abbas, who strived for years to achieve a two-state solution going back to the late 1980s and were rejected and rebuffed at every turn. There's a lot of myth and propaganda about there being no negotiating power, but you could hardly imagine a more pliable and obedient ruling class as the Palestinian Authority has been, that the PLO morphed into, and particularly under the Fateh party. So the mainstream Palestinian party pursued peace for decades, and conditions got worse and worse on the ground, and in 2006, Hamas is elected to govern the authority. However, the West, the U.S., and Israel did not accept the results of that election and implemented a coup to try and overthrow the Hamas group and install or preserve the rule of Mahmoud Abbas despite losing the election. And when Hamas fought back, the blockade was instituted, and it effectively, Israel, the whole land between the river and the sea, is a very small place, but the Gaza Strip is just a tiny thumbnail of that small territory, and it's been, the Israelis have imposed a blockade by sea, by air, by land crossing, controlling the entry ports, who goes in, who goes out, literally for years counting the calories that are going in to keep the population on a diet, as Israelis have put it. And another euphemism that the Israelis have used to describe their policy of the Gaza blockade is periodic mowing of the lawn, which means the weeds get a little bit too high. We've got to go and knock it down with a lot of airstrikes in the fashion that Omar described, and these tend to happen every few years. I don't know what else to say. Israel, it's not the case that the occupation ended. The troops inside the Gaza Strip were redeployed to the perimeter. But when the whole place is on lockdown and Israel continues, they can turn the electricity off, they can turn the water off, they can turn all the communications off. This is one of the most controlled, surveilled, and obstructed. No freedom of movement for the people living there. They cannot leave. But the majority of people in the Gaza Strip have never set foot outside of that tiny thumbnail of land, because it's an incredibly young population. Of the 2.2 million people, something like 1 million of them are children, and many of the militants who broke out of the Gaza Strip on October 7th had tasted freedom or seen beyond the wall and the gates and the fences for the first time in their lives.
Thank you.